and then we can get started. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. I want to make sure that you get the most out of our time together. Erin from Australia, amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So I think is it like 7 in the morning where you are? Is that right? I think it's 13 hours ahead, but I could be totally wrong. So you guys have all taken the time out of your day to be here, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. So we're going to get right into it. So all right, welcome to the 3 Secrets webinar. Like I said, this is super interactive. So if you are just now joining, make sure that you find that chat box at the bottom of your screen so that you can interact with us tonight. And I'm going to turn the video off here in just a second so that you can focus on all the juicy, good information in the screen. But I wanted to show those of you who are just joining that I'm a real person and you're talking to a real person. So yes, this is highly interactive, but I want to hear, you guys have all shared where you're joining from. I want to hear what your favorite food is. So let me know if you have a favorite food. I want to hear it. Mine is actually yellow curry. I love it. It is just like the perfect, rich, creamy flavor. It meets that like comfort food feel for me. Beth, yes, I am hoping to get the recording out to those who joined tonight. So no worries about that. Chicken and dumplings, ice cream. Yes, ice cream is always good. Let's see who else is hopping on here. Looks like, okay. People are still sharing their favorite foods here. Nobody's like a big chocolate and wine fan. All right. Okay, I'm gonna shut off the video so that you guys can focus on the screens. Chocolate, of course. So if you see me go away, that's why, but I am still here. Katie says chocolate. Jessica, chicken and dumplings. Chips and queso, yes. Trista, always yes to chocolate and wine. Yeah, that's true, huh? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Because like I said, I want to honor everybody's time, and we've got people from all over the world on tonight, which is super exciting. So we are officially going to get started, everyone. So welcome to the 3 secrets that helped me to eliminate painful periods, mood swings, hot flashes, irritability, and fatigue so that you can get back to feeling your best again. So I am so glad that you are here. And I don't take lightly that you've committed to spending the next 45-ish minutes with me. As I mentioned, this is a super interactive training and we're gonna have a conversation together. So make sure to keep that chat comment box open, okay? And let's go ahead and just dive right into those 3 secrets. So you are here because you want the secrets to fix your insomnia, painful periods, monthly migraines, fatigue, and irritability. So it's really important that you block out all distractions. It's so rare that we actually give ourselves the time and energy to just focus on one thing. I feel like we're always focusing on so many different things at once. So if that's you, close all tabs, turn off your notifications, put a do not disturb sign on your door, and get ready to learn, because we're going to be talking about some really good stuff tonight. So it's so rare these days that we can give anything our undivided attention, but you're here for a reason, and I want to make sure that you are able to focus on this time. And on that note, I have a super special gift for those of you who stay until the end. So everything that I'm going to be sharing with you is equally important, and it's critical to getting your hot flashes, insomnia, irritability, mood swings, fatigue, monthly migraines under control, that you stay until the end of this masterclass so that you can get the full picture of what I'm going to share with you tonight and not just 1 or 2 little nuggets. So basically, I am rewarding you for staying until the end. So at the very end of this masterclass, I'm going to share a link with you. And you'll have instant access to the simple guilt-free snacking guide for that time of the month, because we all need some ideas when those cravings hit, right? So this is what we're going to be covering tonight. You're welcome to take notes, but you certainly don't have to. I'd rather you pay attention and just enjoy. So we're going to be covering what your doctor doesn't know that's keeping you stuck, why hormone replacement therapy, aka birth control pills, patches, creams, etc., don't work and can actually cause long-term damage. Why it's not normal to feel awful 1 to 2 weeks out of the month and what you can do about it. Why clean eating is not enough to totally balance your hormones, how you can get rid of your mood swings, painful periods, fatigue, and irritability in 90 days or less without spending hundreds of dollars each month on supplements, and how to totally balance your hormones without spending hours each day in the kitchen. So here is my promise to you. So this means for you that when you use the 3 steps that I'm going to talk about tonight to balance your hormones, you will be able to enjoy time with your family without worrying about your mood swings ruining all of your fun. You can stop missing out on productivity at work or in your business due to your mood swings, migraines, painful, heavy periods, etc. You get to enjoy intimacy with your spouse again, no matter what time of month it is. That means your intimacy is no longer controlled by your hormones. Okay. Who wants some of that? Well, just give me a thumbs up or a heck yes in the comments. Okay. And you'll finally be able to enjoy being the wife and mom you know you are. Okay. Olga says yes. Okay. Awesome. 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 Okay, so like I said, tonight I'm going to show you the simplest way to get rid of all of those symptoms, get them under control so that you can feel your best again and be back in charge of your hormones. So one of our former participants in the masterclass we did several months ago just shared how this worked for her. So this helped me to understand what was going on with my hormones and why I've been stuck for all these years. I'm so grateful to know grateful to now have my mood swings out of the way so that I can enjoy my family again. And Carrie shared, you can see her little screenshot there, but who finally realized why she had felt this way and that there was a way out of her struggle. Okay, good stuff here. Okay, so the whole purpose of me doing this masterclass is really because you have been told that your painful periods, mood swings, and fatigue, irritability, etc., are normal. You've been told, any number of things about that, but basically that it's normal and you just need to put up with it. And I'm going to show you the other side of this and what's actually possible for you. And this is really the talked about side that it's rarely ever talked about and certainly not talked about with physicians or primary care providers. So the side that doesn't benefit big companies or big pharma, but actually benefits you. And in that, it's an easy and non-overwhelming and actually puts you back in charge of your hormones and your life. So I'm not holding anything back here, but at the end, I will share with you ways that you can work with me if that's something that you want to do. So you'll have all of the information that you need by the end of our time together. Does that sound good to everybody so far? Let me know in the comments if you guys are all cool with that, and I will move on. All right, cool. Awesome. Lots of yeses there. So can you relate to this? If you can relate to anything that I'm saying, then I want you to share which thing you relate to the most as I'm talking. And it can be all of it or some of it, or if it doesn't relate to you at all, then you can share that too. So are you tired of having to isolate yourself from friends and family for 1 to 2 weeks out of the month? And then having to apologize for being who we have named Helga Hot Mess PMS Express, okay? Like you turn into a different person and your family doesn't recognize you. Are you fed up with going from medication to medication with minimal results and scary side effects? Are you doing the latest recommended supplement or diet regimen, hoping that it will alleviate your fatigue, irritability, insomnia, etc.? Are you unsure of how to get your symptoms under control so that you can actually just enjoy your life freely without being controlled by your hormones? Katie says, I've tried it all. Okay. And do you feel like, what's the point? Because you've tried everything, Katie, that tied in perfectly. And you're tired of trying to get your doctor to understand that you don't want to just live with your symptoms or settle for having to be on a medication that doesn't make you feel good or settle for a hysterectomy. Have you experienced any of these things? Yes to those. Sounds like my life. Okay. Well, if so, you are not alone, as evidenced by our chat box here tonight. And if you're nodding your head in agreement to this, I promise you that I am not a stalker watching you. It's just that I've done all these things and I've worked with a lot of women. And so this is just the nature of our medical system right now. So I promise that whatever it is that you are doing that's not working, it's not your fault. It's really hard to know who is right, what information out there pertains to you, and who to trust. And if you feel anything like I did 10 years ago, I would have done just about anything to get rid of my mood swings, painful periods, hormonal anxiety, except for that nothing seemed to work. Okay. So the real problem is that the old way of addressing your mood swings, irritability, fatigue, insert symptom here, is that they don't actually work. So the real problem, trying random supplements that target only one part of the hormone imbalance, using pills and creams to suppress your symptoms and not actually get to the root problem, or rearranging your life around your symptoms, taking advice from people who aren't actually experts and have, a legit track record of getting their clients success. And so when you continue to take hormone replacement therapy in the form of creams and pills, drink random detox teas, or try the latest fad diet to get rid of your symptoms over and over again, it makes the problem worse because it never deals with the root issues, which are, we're going to talk about what those root issues are, and we're going to go into way more detail as we get into it. Those root issues are leaky gut, poor diet, poor digestion, inadequate or poor quality sleep, stress, and liver dysfunction. Okay. It's frustrating, and I totally get it. You've been following advice and not getting any results, and I totally know what that feels like. If you could describe that in one word, I would like for you to describe the feeling that you have felt after trying all of these different things in the chat box, because I can pretty much guarantee that I've felt it too. Okay, defeated. Yep. Trapped. Okay. Irritated. Trapped. Yep. All right. Yep, you guys are not alone in that. That's for sure. These are very real feelings of not being listened to, not feeling understood, and not having a way out. And it looks like we've had a few new people hop on. So if you're just joining, we're just getting into the good stuff here. So let us know where you're joining from in the chat box, and we'll keep moving forward. So I'm going to give you an example of where I was 10 years ago. Okay. So I used to have cramps so bad before my period that I had to crawl to the bathroom. I took the max dose of ibuprofen and naproxen, and nothing could cut through the pain. I had terrible acne breakouts that required birth control and Accutane to manage, which only made my symptoms worse because they were just trying to mask that underlying problem. As I got older, my hormone imbalance symptoms got worse, and especially when I went on birth control pill. I honestly had no clue that my hormones were even out of balance because, of course, all of my labs were normal. Everyone told me that it was normal to have terrible periods, and it was acceptable to want to murder your spouse and hide and isolate from the rest of your family, 1 to 2 weeks before your period started. I felt so proud of myself that I had learned to structure my life around my mood swings, high, then low libido, premenstrual anxiety and depression, and heavy, painful periods. I knew when to avoid making certain phone calls or respond to text messages. I knew to avoid certain coworkers, and even had to call out sick a few times just because of that time of the month. Okay. I could no longer be patient at work, which is not ideal when you are working in a super high stress, high stakes environment where people's lives are literally in your hands. Add that to working, like I said, in an environment where you don't get any breaks and there is no planning how the day is going to go. It's a recipe for disaster. So I had to become the master at managing, which made me feel like I was doing pretty awesome. And I was doing okay, but it was a lot of work. And it really was more exhausting than I even realized. So after a week of making everyone around me miserable, having to apologize for misunderstanding someone's intentions or yelling at my husband and child, I felt so much shame. I just didn't like who I was at that time of the month. And it really was just an awful, hopeless, defeated place to be. So even if you've never experienced PMS, mood swings, painful, heavy periods, but you're experiencing hot flashes or insomnia or migraines, the root causes are typically the same. And we're going to go into that in just a little bit here. I really did not want to feel like that anymore. I wasn't happy. And to my, my own personal disdain and self-hatred for myself at that time really didn't help anything either, because it was just like this hole that perpetually got deeper and deeper. It wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. And if you can relate to any of this at all, I'm sure that this is not the life that you've envisioned for yourself either. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Okay. So glad that you're taking the time. So we're going to talk about the dream. And this is that other side of the equation that rarely ever gets talked about or presented. And this is what we see happening with our clients all the time. And this is the dream life. So this is, imagine yourself in this place. Okay. So you wake up every day with the energy to actually tackle your day. You can stop relying on endless cups of coffee just to get through your day. No more relying on pain meds for your cramps that wreck your liver. You'll be able to get back to feeling like yourself all month long. And yes, even through menopause. You'll be able to stop trying to plan your life around your painful hormone symptoms, like having to pack multiple outfits a day because your hot flashes are so unpredictable, having to have two different sizes of pants, one for during your period and one for, the rest of the month, or always having to look for a bathroom because you don't know when that gush or heavy flow or just the need to be by yourself is going to become overwhelming. Because what I'm about to share with you is really the fastest and simplest way to eliminate all of these symptoms that we've talked about. So before we go any further, I know that we still have some people hopping on. So those of you who are joining, thank you so much for being here. I want to formally introduce myself. So I'm Andrea. I am a registered nurse and the founder of the international company Abundant Wellness with Andrea and the creator of the Happy Hormones program. I have the immense privilege of getting to support women in getting rid of their painful periods, insomnia, fatigue, irritability, low libido, insert symptom here, really without having to rely on supplementation, so that you can still enjoy carbs and chocolate and maybe a glass of wine here or there and get back to feeling like your best. So that's a little bit about me. I need to update that photo because my kids are quite a bit older now. But this was really, this was me 9 years ago when I was struggling with anxiety, insomnia, sugar cravings, painful, heavy periods, mood swings. I was having hot flashes, night sweats. I was just hot mess, PMS Express, and that's not a joke. So I have never been sicker in my life than I was during this period of time. I had barely any energy to feed or clothe my child, much less leave the house. I had anxiety and panic attacks. I was a shell of a person just trying to survive my day. I was tearful and lethargic a lot and felt like I was just watching everyone else's lives go by while I stayed not really living or enjoying my life. I remember, the week before my period wanting to hide from my friends, hide from my family, could barely, I would count down the minutes until nap time just so I could be alone, not understanding why I felt so disconnected from everything else around me. And then sure enough, the next day I would start my period and those symptoms would all lift. And that was when I started to really realize, oh, I wonder if my symptoms are related to my hormones. So I knew that there was a connection there, but I did not know what or why or how to fix it. And I certainly was not getting any help really from my doctors, who kept just telling me your labs are normal, you're fine. So tell me in the comments if you're struggling with the same thing or maybe something similar. I'm sure I'm not the only one who is doing more harm than good because I thought I was doing all of the right things, but really not getting any results. So if that's you, I'd love to hear if you struggled with this too. Olga says yes. Me, Jessica. Okay, thank you for sharing. Exactly my story. So glad I'm not alone. Sarah says, Helga here. Welcome, Helga. You're welcome here. Always got told my labs are fine. Totally. Totally get that. So annoying and frustrating, and something we are definitely working on changing, but yeah. Okay, Katie says she's started to feel a little bit better, but not great. Okay, so this is really when I decided no more. I mean, I'd lost, the panic attacks had started pretty slowly, but then, you know, they were happening every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, you know, on the dot. I would wake up in a cold sweat, fighting to catch my breath, feeling like I was, you know, gonna die, basically. My husband, not knowing what to do, took me to the emergency room. I knew that it wasn't a heart attack, but he didn't believe me. And really, you know, I told the doctor, I think I'm having panic attacks. I need you to do some testing. I don't feel well. And pretty much she accused me of being a drug seeker, gave me a few days worth of medication to calm the anxiety, and sent me on my way with no follow-up. And really, it was that experience, especially as a nurse, when I have been trained to advocate for my patients and be an amazing caregiver, to be on the other side of really feeling not understood and not heard. I really decided then and there that I had to figure out how to get my life back, and that it didn't matter how long it took or what I had to do. I made a decision that I was going to figure out how to get rid of my symptoms without having to rely on birth control that made me feel horrible. And that's really when this journey that got me to where I am today, here with you, sharing my methodology with you know, that I use with my clients, so that they can skip over the years of trial and error and the struggle that I went through. So that's where all of this started, that led even to the creation of this program. So that decision led to me figuring out what I have been doing all of these years was almost completely and utterly wrong. So I'm so grateful that I made that decision to invest in myself, because I probably would still be trying any number of things, harmful medications, random diets, and tinctures, and not getting anywhere. So have you ever invested in your health before? And so there's two questions to this. So have you ever invested in your health before? And what are you missing out on because of your symptoms? I'm super curious, because I know what that was like for me, but I really want to hear what that was like for you, or is like for you, if you're still experiencing that. It's okay if you need to cry, let it out. It's important to feel understood. I'm just going to give people a few seconds to respond here before I move on. And I might pause and read through some of those here. It's hard to talk about this stuff, guys. I get it. So, excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat. So even though, let's see. Okay, so Kyra says, I hate missing out on days of my life, hiding away because I'm so exhausted and moody. Yep, I get that for sure. Jessica says, yep. We can relate, that's for sure. Okay, so even though I am now able to live without PMS, painful heavy periods, hot flashes, and the uncomfortable mood swings that came along with that, it took me a long time of trial and error to figure it out and realize that even the conventional medical model wasn't working for me. I had to unlearn everything that I thought were the right things to do, because I quickly discovered how wrong they were. I had to test out different formulas to see which ones really worked for me and my body, and I struggled a lot. So it took a lot of time and patience, and there was no way that I could have arrived at the Happy Hormones methodology without having invested in my professional education, my own recovery, and becoming an expert in balancing hormones myself. But because I was fully committed to figuring it out, I wasn't going back to my old ways. So Olga says, I tried vitamins and supplements. I hide away from the world because I'm so emotional and not in the mood to do anything. Totally get that. So what I discovered through all of this trial and error was that it wasn't that I was a bad person who couldn't control my emotions, even though that was kind of what I had been trained to think, or that I had weak willpower and couldn't stick with using a tincture or tea consistently. It wasn't that I didn't care about how I felt or that I didn't want to get better. It wasn't that you didn't care that all of this was affecting not just me, but my entire family and my coworkers and my job productivity. I discovered that none of these things were actually helpful or normal. And I figured out that I, in fact, had a hormone imbalance influenced by all of the factors that I'm going to teach you tonight. And once I started to address those root causes, everything changed for me. And I want to share with you how I did all of that so that you can skip over the trial and error too, because there really is a simpler way to get rid of all of these symptoms. So tell me in the comments, you can just type yes if you want a simpler way of doing things too. Okay, lots of yeses here. You guys are so interactive. I love this. Erin says yes. All right, very cool. You guys are awesome. It makes it so much more fun when people are interactive. So this is really great for me. So, before we dive into the 3 secrets, I want to share with you a short case study. I think it's really important for you to see examples of what real success looks like so that you can ground yourself in knowing that this is possible for you too. So before Sheila began working with me, she was having hot flashes, irregular periods, and mood swings. She had tried a few creams and tinctures and noticed mild changes, but every 2 months or so, her symptoms would return and would kick back into full force. She had tried keto, paleo, you name it, and all of it helped for a short time, but didn't actually address the root causes of her issues fully. So after Sheila went through the Happy Hormones program, her hot flashes were completely gone. Her mood swings decreased significantly. She had the energy to begin exercising and noticed that her sleep improved as well. Her sex life with her partner was revived, and her family was no longer walking on eggshells around her for 1 week out of the month. So I want you to imagine yourself in that same position as Sheila, where totally free of symptoms, feeling energized to live your life to its fullest capacity, able to travel and explore and participate the things that you want to, feeling present and bringing your best into every area of your life. And I would love for you to tell me in the comments, just type me, if that's what you would like to achieve without having to go on a strict diet or eliminating all of your favorite foods and having to spend $1 bajillion each month on supplements. I would love to hear that in the comments. Okay, me. Sarah says me. Yes, I can't imagine. Yeah, I know, Trista. I was there too. I think I looked like at my doctor like he was a cyclops when he told me, you can actually feel better. Okay, so let's get right into secret number 1. So how hormone replacement therapy and birth control make your hot flashes, irritability, mood swings, painful periods, etc., all of those symptoms that you came here for worse, okay? So this may be news to you, but all of those symptoms that you're experiencing are actually symptoms of an underlying hormone imbalance. So, excuse me. A hormone imbalance is an imbalance in any of your hormones that leads to painful heavy periods, mood swings, insomnia, hot flashes, irritability, fatigue, endometriosis, PCOS, and more, okay? So a hormone imbalance can be caused by, and this is the short list, but you can look this over, can be caused by stress, infection, underlying food allergies, thyroid disorder, gut dysfunction due to antibiotic use or standard American diet, lack of sleep, head injuries, and more. So unless we correct these above issues, the hormone imbalance will not resolve itself, and it will get worse over time, especially if we use hormone replacement therapy or birth control. And we'll talk about why that is. Okay, let's see here. Standard treatment for hormone imbalances is to treat the symptoms using synthetic hormones in the form of birth control, patches, shots, or creams, or by addressing mood with pharmaceuticals, rather than understanding that hormones operate in conjunction with all other organs of the body. Okay, so while some of these treatments work for a short period of time, they may eliminate those symptoms even for a short period of time. They aren't actually dealing with the root problem of the hormone imbalance, which is that lengthy list that we talked about. So these methods, hormone replacement therapy, also don't take into account the fact that hormones work in conjunction with nearly every other process in the body. So eliminating one symptom with medication means that other symptoms are going to crop up somewhere else. So when that root cause doesn't get taken care of and symptoms are shoved deeper over time, symptoms get worse, which often leads to having more aggressive treatments like a hysterectomy, removal of the ovaries, etc. And that's really not a place that we want women to be. So I went on birth control with zero discussion from my doctor about the side effects. He didn't tell me that it would affect my gut permeability, leading to food allergies down the road. He did not tell me that it could affect my neurotransmitters and my ability to actually produce serotonin. Basically it proved to be effective in preventing pregnancy for me, but it also came with a whole slew of awful side effects like nausea, bloating, irritability. It got to the point that I became super controlling and angry for 1 week out of every month. And as a newlywed, that was just not acceptable. And for me, that was like not tolerable for me. And so I went I went off the pill, but not without these long-term lasting side effects. So it wasn't until I got legitimate help and began doing some research on my own that helped really address all of these underlying causes for my hormone imbalance that I actually began to see improvement. So I tried it all, you guys, tried it all. So what are the risks of hormone replacement therapy? I think it's really important. It's one of my core values, and it's in our nursing code of ethics that patients, clients, whoever we're working with, be provided risks and benefits. So that means if you're going to make a decision, that it's an informed decision, okay? So risks of birth control, hormone replacement therapy, or surgery. So hip and vertebral fractures, vaginal bleeding, urinary incontinence, dementia, stroke, blood clots, heart attack, reproductive cancers. And over time, these symptoms are not, if they are not dealt with by dealing with the root cause in a systematic way, your symptoms will gradually get worse and worse. And one of the things that is probably the least talked about is psychiatric exacerbations that happen from being on birth control. So this causes a depletion of B vitamins and zinc that lead to you not being able to produce serotonin or dopamine, which then leads to higher risk of postpartum depression, PMDD, etc. So those are not without risks. So I'm super curious in the comments, what is it costing you emotionally, physically, socially, when you've tried these things and you don't get results? I'd love to hear in the comments. Okay. A lot of times we think about like how much we're going to pay for supplements, but we don't actually think about what it's actually costing us to stay where we are. So even if you don't want to answer, that's okay. Just be thinking to yourself as we go through. So another case study for you, I want to share a little bit about Janet. So Janet was having hot flashes most of her adult life. Okay, Barbara says, I haven't tried hormone replacement as I didn't want to depend on a med to help balance the issue. That's awesome. That's good. Same. Okay. Okay, so Janet had had hot flashes most of her adult life, mood swings before her cycle, and was diagnosed with endometriosis. Her general practitioner put her on antidepressants for her mood swings and recommended a hysterectomy for her endometriosis, letting her know that it would solve all of her unwanted problems, but never talked to her about how that could impact her future health. So, 5 to 6 years after her hysterectomy, she had all of her symptoms had gotten worse. Her labs were, of course, totally normal, but she still felt terrible. So we actually began working together, and within 2 weeks, her hot flashes were completely gone. Her sleep was improved. Her mood began improving during the day as well. And sorry, as for the first time in her adult life, she actually felt like, oh, I feel like myself. I've got my energy back. So this is what happens. This is a very common result when we actually work on those root causes. Okay. So who wants some of that in their life? I should have said mask the issue. Yes. No, I understood what you meant, Barbara. You're good. All right. So, secret number 2. So, what your doctor doesn't know about your hormones could be keeping you from feeling energized, having a balanced mood, and feeling in charge of your hormones and how they behave. All right. So, if you're anything like the majority of clients that I work with, you're likely in one of 3 camps. Okay. Camp 1 is where you believe that there is nothing you can do about your symptoms. Camp 2 is where you believe that your hormone imbalance symptoms require birth control, hormone replacement therapy, or surgery to get rid of them. Or Camp 3, you're waking up to the idea that there is something that you can do about your symptoms, but you're not sure what it is yet. So if you're in Camp 1 or 2, it can feel very overwhelming and hopeless because you don't want to accept that there's nothing you can do, and overwhelming to think about the dangers of hormone replacement therapy and surgery. So I'd love to hear in the comments, what camp are you in? Camp 3. Okay, lots of Camp 3s here. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Very good. Y'all are ready to make some changes, sounds like. So the reason this is faulty is because your doctor likely doesn't have the training and the answers you need to actually fix the underlying problem. So generally speaking, the above recommendations, like we talked about, are a Band-Aid solution to the underlying problems and are keeping you from actually addressing the real reason why you're stuck. So one thing that I think, I could do a whole other masterclass on this, but that I think people don't understand is that in order for us as medical practitioners, as nurses, nurse practitioners, doctors, whatever your designation is, to stay on top of trends, and not just trends, but like what we are seeing in healthcare and where science is going, we have to invest in continuing education. And most physicians are only going to do the continuing education that their hospital or employer provides for them for free. So if you want to, let's say the whole reason I built this program, this is true. The whole reason I built this program was because I realized that there was a huge gap in healthcare. For women specifically. And nurses are innovators. So if that's a new concept for you, I would challenge you to look into that a little bit more. Nurses are innovators, though. We're creators. We troubleshoot problems. That's what we do. And so when I saw that there was a need for this, and because of my own pain, I did the research and I put it together and I tested it out, and we have had tremendous results since then. So it's important to understand, though, that I had to pay all of my own money for that. My, insurance doesn't cover it. Your employer doesn't cover it. So unless your doctor is doing that and saying, hey, I'm tired of seeing my clients come in and not being able to help them, let's figure out a better way to do it, through whatever means that is, they're not going to have the answers that you're looking for. So this isn't me talking down about your doctor. It's just sharing the reality of our healthcare system. Okay. So let's get back to where we were going, because I went on a little tangent there. So again, those root causes are gut dysbiosis, thyroid imbalance, adrenal fatigue, toxic overload, stress, poor sleep habits, you name it. This is a very short, condensed list, okay? So, and when these symptoms go ignored, you gradually get worse over time, leading to things like impaired fertility, unnecessary surgeries, decreased energy, worsening toxic load, and increased risk for cardiovascular disease and cancer. So, I'd love to hear in the comments if you have experienced any of these symptoms. So, Kyra says, I was so tired after I had my daughter, and my doctor looked at my blood work. My thyroid numbers were off. Excuse me. Let's see. But now I feel so much worse off hormonally. I just want to get to the root of it. Yep. Totally get it. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you've experienced this, where you have been to your doctor and you were given, some suggestions or advice and still haven't really gotten to where you want to be. If you took their advice, I want to remind you that it's not your fault, okay? I did too, and I suffered for far longer than I should have because I trusted what I was told. Jessica says, I'm totally in this situation. You did the best you could with what you had until you know better. And when you know better, you do things differently. So the attempts that you've made that haven't worked out are not a reflection of you. They're a reflection of a flawed system that really is not invested in your health or well-being, okay? So if anything, this speaks to your tenacity and your connection to your intuition and your desire to do your best for yourself. They say sleep deprivation and postpartum anxiety is normal. Yeah, they do say that, but it's not. Olga said, after I had my daughter, my progesterone was really low. I was put on medication for that and for my thyroid too. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. This is so important to hear. I'm so glad that this is helpful, Kyra. So glad. Okay, so another case study here. So Karen came to me really feeling really defeated. I mean, she wasn't even sure working with me was worth it. So she left her doctor's office with two options: accept that her relationship with her spouse would be in the toilet with no intimacy due to her mood swings and libido, or go on synthetic hormones. And on her way out, he made sure to tell her, by the way, you've gained 20 pounds and we need you to really work on that. Karen was beyond frustrated and she was starting to feel crazy because her doctor really wasn't listening to her. So she had tried at that point everything that we've talked about: changing her diet, doing numerous supplements and tinctures. Some of it helped for a while, but none of it touched the hormone symptoms she was having. And she was about to take his primary suggestion and just accept that this was part of life. So Karen and I began working together by addressing her dietary triggers, strategies for reducing stress, improving her sleep, and simple solutions for supporting her detox pathways. Karen began feeling more and more empowered with each session. Her overwhelm began to dissipate as she realized that I had broken down each step for her, so that she could just do the one action task. She didn't need to worry about all the big details and all the big problems. So she realized that she wasn't as limited as she thought. She could, in fact, get her perimenopausal symptoms and lingering endometriosis symptoms in balance without just accepting that her symptoms had to be part of life. Her energy improved, her sleep improved, her mood improved, her libido came back, her hot flashes completely disappeared, and her life is now forever changed because of that. So really, which one of these would you like the most to have back? I'm super curious. Would it be libido? Would it be energy? Would it be mood, stamina? What would it be? Mood. Okay. Energy and mood. Okay. Energy, libido, energy, mood, anxiety. Okay. Thank you for sharing, you guys. That's super helpful. Okay. So now we get into the nitty gritty. Okay, let's see. Jessica said, I was told I was a candidate for hysterectomy due to endometriosis. I've tried every birth control method. I have cystic acne. I can't lose weight, emotionally out of control, disconnected. Yeah. You're not alone there. We've had more than several women with endometriosis and cystic acne get rid of it. So It's totally possible, and I'm so glad you're here. So, all right, so we're going to talk about how to eliminate all of your symptoms. So you can just fill in the blank here with your symptoms because we're talking about all of it and I didn't have enough room to put in all of the words in there. But so that you can get back to having energy and feeling your best all month long. Are you guys ready for that? Okay, so if you remember, from secret number 1, we actually talked about how hormone replacement therapy, birth control, surgery, mood stabilizers are often recommended as the only treatment for managing your symptoms, and how they make your hormone imbalance symptoms worse over time. Okay, because they're not actually dealing with the root cause. So now you know that that's not the best option. You're probably wondering what to do instead and how you can get rid of the lasting effects of some of those treatments so they are no longer causing long-term harm. So many women who come to me assume that they will have to give up all the foods they love, go on super restrictive diets, or simply suffer with their symptoms, and that's just absolutely not the case. Okay, so hang on here. I feel like I got my notes in front of me and I want to make sure I didn't totally jump around. Okay, hold on here. Okay, we're good. So I had tried many ways of managing my hormones, including, like I said, super restrictive diets like keto, intermittent fasting, paleo, every cleanse you can think of. These were all my trial and error things: birth control, mood boosting pills, etc. And none of it got me to where I wanted to be, but it did lead me to a place where I discovered that there were 6 basic pillars or principles, and that when we address them in a systematic way, every woman who follows these principles sees results. So these pillars or principles are hydration, liver health. So your liver is responsible for detoxing your hormones, and it's also responsible for detoxing toxins. And so when those build up in the body, they actually will lower your estrogen, which is, we don't want that. Typically women are low to begin with. And it will cause things like painful periods, irritability, menstrual migraines, etc. So these are the pillars of hormone health that we go through in the Happy Hormones program. So liver health, gut function, getting that gut-brain connection restored so that your brain can actually make the happy mood chemicals that you need to feel balanced all month long. That also helps with libido and energy because they're all kind of tied together. Stress, sleep, and supplementation. So in the Happy Hormones program, we actually don't really do supplementation. If we're going to do supplementation, it's at the very, very end and only for a short period of time to truly bridge the gap between what we're not getting through nutrition. So these make up the pillars of the Happy Hormones program, and I've made it very simple for you to follow and get the same results, so that whether you eat a lot of carbs or no carbs, drink some wine or none, and you enjoy chocolate or not at all, you will get the results that you are looking for, because we're focusing on what really matters instead of all of the stuff, the noise that gets thrown at you as far as what things to do and what things to try. Okay. So why these pillars work? So this works because it focuses on all of the physiologic reasons why your hormones are behaving and addresses each of those reasons. So the stress, sleep, hydration, liver health, gut-brain connection, and supplementation. This method works because they are tailored to your individual needs as a person while addressing each of the root causes of hormone imbalance, as opposed to just managing your symptoms by silencing them through medication, surgery, and even supplementation sometimes can happen. So which would you prefer? Super curious. The old way of doing things, which is always chasing symptoms, taking medication that takes the edge off but doesn't actually solve your problem, and causes side effects, doing hormone replacement therapy or surgery, or the new way of doing things, which is a systematic approach to addressing all of those underlying root causes so that you can feel really good in a really short period of time. Let me know in the comments, old way or new way. Okay. Awesome. New way. Trista, Olga. Fantastic. New way, new way. Awesome. Lots of new ways here. Very good. Okay, so without question, when I polled all of the women that are in my, the thousands of women that are in kind of my audience or atmosphere, whatever you want to call it, the number one reason they say that they have failed to really overcome their hormone imbalance is a lack of support, not knowing where to start, and then not following through because there's no accountability to do so. So oftentimes our spouses, our partners can't really support us in the way that we need. So a lot of times our families aren't doing with us either, and neither are our friends. And that can make things very challenging. So having accountability and support of a trained professional like myself that is available for every question that you have and tailoring the program to fit you is a huge piece of the puzzle, because there will be bumps along the way. Healing your hormones is not linear. We talk about this all the time in the private coaching program. It's not linear. It's ups and downs until the body finally balances itself out, okay? So, do you believe that having support and accountability would be beneficial to you? Super curious. I know we've got some people that prefer to do things on their own, but I'm curious about this group, if you feel like having that support and accountability piece would be beneficial to you. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so Kyra says, I get horrible migraines monthly. My doctor offered another prescription and I said, no, I want to fix what's causing them. I'm tired of the Band-Aids. I think support would be huge. Absolutely. Yep. So it's not just the women that we talked about in the case studies earlier that have benefited from this. So many, so many more have as well. And one of the things that they benefited, like I said, from the most was having that support. And I'll give you a chance to read over, what Liz had to say while I find where, I think I lost a page of my notes here, and I want to make sure that I stay on track and make sure to give you guys all the juicy nuggets, okay? So this is Liz. I love this story. Liz is actually a cancer survivor. So when she came to me, she not only had some toxic symptoms from chemotherapy, but she also had all of these, you can see the nice list there on the picture, all of these symptoms that were really ruining her life. And so she started working with me. You can read her testimony there. But seeing improvements in women who were farther along than me helped me to stay consistent and trust the process. I need to be doing things to take care of me, even with all of the changes and limits, so that I can take care of the ones that I love. So she started the program right before COVID hit. So for her, having that support, especially during COVID times, was super helpful for her. So let's do a really quick review. So during this time, we've talked about secret number one. So how hormone replacement therapy and birth control can make all of your symptoms worse. You learned what causes a hormone imbalance. You learned what standard conventional treatment options are and their risks. Secret number two, you learned that what your doctor doesn't know about your hormones could be keeping you stuck. Understanding that your doctor may not have the training and the continuing education, or have invested in their continuing education to really be an expert in understanding hormone imbalances, and that it's not your fault for not knowing what to do, okay? And then secret number three, which was the exact process that I use with my clients to get them to totally balanced hormones. So that you can stop expecting hormone replacement therapy in the form of creams and pills to solve the underlying problem. You can stop doing restrictive diets, random cleanses, and supplementation that doesn't actually target the root of the problem, and begin addressing the pillars of hormone health like we talked about, okay? All right. So this secret is super powerful because we talked about that exact process that I use. So you came here today, just as a reminder, the big promise that I made for you today. I made a promise that by the end of this training, you would have the 3 simplest ways to get rid of the symptoms that brought you here tonight. So PMS, irritability, fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, really so that you can start feeling your best again. So here's the thing that I want you to remember. Everything that I've shared with you today isn't some random theory or some idea that I think might work for you. Everything I've walked you through today works. It worked for me and it's worked for my clients who all started out in a similar spot that you are right now. So I am not special and they are not special. We all have busy families, tight schedules, financial obligations, personal goals. And if they can do it, I am so confident that you can do it too. You've already said that you can achieve balanced hormones as long as you had accountability and a plan to follow. So you are already halfway there. All right, so now you have a choice because now you have all of this information. So you can continue doing what you're doing, trying random supplements and food plans and hoping that it works, even though it never has before. Or you can choose the simpler path and use the Happy Hormones program that comes with a proven system and accountability so that you can get to your goal. Okay. So the choice is yours. And my job is really just to make sure you have all of that information, okay? So throughout the webinar, you've heard me mention the Happy Hormones program. This is how I can help you achieve balanced hormones naturally. Is it okay with everybody if I take just 1 to 2 minutes to share how I can best help you? If that's a yes, just type yes in the comments. My job is just to give you all of the information that you need so that you can get to where you want to go. So if that's okay with you, then I'm just going to go through this for just 1 to 2 minutes, and then I'll give you that gift that I mentioned, okay? All right, lots of yeses. You guys are like eager and hungry tonight. I love it. Okay, so one of the best ways that I can help you is actually by scheduling a breakthrough call with me. So on this call, I mean, I love sharing this opportunity with you because really the best way that I can help you is by figuring out with you where you're stuck. So on this hormone breakthrough call, you're going to gain so much confidence because you're going to be able to see how this system or framework works so well, why it is different than other things that you've tried before, and it's going to empower you to make some changes to move forward. So I'm going to share that link with you to schedule a call. These are totally free. And the reason I do them, I know I legitimately get probably 5 or 6 messages a day from women who I've talked to saying, I can't believe you don't charge for this. But the reason that I don't charge for this is because I have a core value in my business of giving value first. And one of the ways that I can give value is by actually helping you to see where you're stuck, what things are influencing your hormones individually, and then offering you some steps forward, whether that's to work with me or not. And if you decide not to work with me, that is completely fine, and we will part as friends. But there's no way to really know that unless we have the conversation. So this is what I'm actually going to drop the link to my scheduler. Oops, hang on here. In the comments, okay? So let me know if you do not see that link. I want you to go ahead and either click on it or copy and paste it in your browser. That way you can have access to it because it will get lost once the Zoom is over. So this is essentially, it looks very similar to this in my scheduler. It's going to be a little bit different, but what you're going to see is a gray highlighted date of days that are available. And then you're going to just click your time zone and find some times that work for you, okay? So after you schedule a call, you're going to get an email with the date and time of your call, as well as some instructions and information on what to expect so that you can come fully prepared. These calls are done over the phone, but I will contact you at the start of the call, okay? So now that you've seen how to schedule your hormone breakthrough call, I want to cover a couple of specifics, okay? So as you're filling out that form, if you're trying to find a time, you can do that while just listening. But I'm basically on this call, I'm going to help get you some clarity on where you're stuck, what isn't working for you, what is working for you, and what you can do to move forward. So you're going to get very clear on what your specific goal is and why you want it, any obstacles and challenges that would derail your success, and how to handle social situations and pressure, any self-sabotage that's happening. We also talk a lot about our spouses, and how having them be a part of the process can be really beneficial. So if this sounds good to you, then just type yes in the comments. If you know that having a call like this would be super helpful for you. Yes, okay. Awesome. There is one catch to this though, you guys. And it's not what you're thinking, so don't tune out now. But if you are looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, so to speak, a way to get rid of your symptoms where you don't care if it supports your health or your mind and body in the long run, this is not for you, okay? So I know that the system works. We have, tons of data to prove it, I've shown you examples throughout this training of some of my clients who have had success, and there's a reason why they've achieved that level of success. They're committed to their goals. They love investing in themselves because they know that when they invest in themselves, they're investing in their families. I want success so bad for my clients and for you, but I can't be the only one putting in the effort. So I 100% know and believe that when you commit to your goals using this system, you will get to where you want to go. So that first step is to schedule a hormone breakthrough call, which the link is right there. So this call is for you. If you are ready to stop doing all of the things that don't work, okay, and you're ready to take some action. So let's see here. All right. You guys have hung in with me and I've loved every second of it. It's been awesome. What's going on there? Okay, so let me grab that freebie for you, okay? So like I promised, I have a freebie for you because you guys have all been so patient. And this is one of my favorite guides that we have that we've put together for you. It's just a simple guilt-free snacking guide. So it's what to eat around your cycle when you're having cravings, when those cravings kind of hit out of nowhere, that won't derail your success, okay? So if you see that, let me know if you don't see that link, okay? If you see that link, I want you to make sure to copy them and post them in your browser that way, or copy and paste them to your notes. That way you have them available for after this masterclass is over. All right, and now we've got some time for some Q&A. So if you've got some questions, we've got about 5 minutes. We ended a smidge early. We've got about 5 minutes for some Q&A. So if you've got some questions, feel free to just toss them at me and we will go from there. I'll give some people some time to, is it normal to feel pain? Sorry, shuffle my papers and put them away. Is it normal to feel pain during ovulation? I wouldn't call it normal. I would call it common. It's often a sign of inflammation. So that's a symptom that we typically see go away with, when we start to balance out hormones. Somebody had shared on our last master class that I thought was a really good question. If I have endometriosis or PCOS, will this help me? And the answer is yes. So we do a pretty thorough intake on everybody who comes into the program, or anybody that we talk to before inviting them into the program, and make sure obviously that they're a good fit and that I'm a good fit to work with them. But assuming that they are a good fit based on their history and all of that stuff, then yes, we do have a pretty high success rate with dealing with PCOS and endometriosis and getting rid of those symptoms as well. Because if you think of it like a spectrum, you might have, migraines, menstrual cramping, heavy periods at one end of the spectrum, and at the other end of the spectrum, there's endometriosis, which is a growth that happens within that. So really endometriosis is like the extreme end of what happens when we don't deal with all of those root causes up front. So same root causes, just, a more amplified version. So Barbara, it depends on what level of support you're needing. So if you were, just working with me one-on-one as a private client without not being in the Happy Hormones program, that would be a different price than in the Happy Hormones program. But actually all of that is listed on the call booking form. So you can check through and see which of those options might be best for you. But we're pretty flexible with payment plans and things like that. Let's see here. I think I had a few other questions. One of the questions I get a lot is, do I need to have labs done in order to work with me? And the answer is no. And primarily that reason is, one, most of the women that I talk to have had so many rounds of lab testing done that it's just, we need to be spending money on getting better. Two, part of the advanced training that I've done and invested in for the benefit of my clients is actually learning how to assess symptoms and understand how that correlates with specific lab results. So not all practitioners know that or understand that or are even comfortable working in that capacity. But just with my background and my training and how much practice I've had with it, I can look at people's symptoms and know without looking at their labs necessarily what the issue is. So if certainly if a client really wants to have lab testing done, we can do that, but it's not necessary for moving forward. All right, let's see. Do you work with women that are on thyroid medication? Yes, Kyra, I do. Actually, I would say about 30% of the women that I work with, either privately or in the Happy Hormones program, have been on thyroid medication or are on thyroid medication. So that's definitely not a prohibiting factor for that. Absolutely. All right, ladies, we are out of time. Make sure to copy and paste those links so that you have them. Thank you so much for your time and your investment in being here by answering questions. I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to chatting with those of you who've already booked calls. Okay, we'll be in touch.